Tell us a little bit about that journey, because I want to know. I know the listeners do.
Basketball was always that passion, love thing. I mean, it was a cruel love, though. It was like this heartbreaking love. It was like, hey, I'm going to allow you to make the team, but you're not going to start. You're not going to be a star for sure. I mean, it was all these like things, but what it was like showed up and I was persistent. I was resilient. And there was times I wanted to quit when I was younger, and I was just like, this is not worth it. But that was the thing. That was the resilience factor. And the coaches taught me that resilience. They gave me these challenges. And there's a thing, how a sword is forged, and you go into the bloom process. That's what basketball taught me. It was that resilience factor, but it also taught me, like, if you love something, you have to really work at it. And so whether you apply that to marriage, whether you apply that to a career, like, I feel like that was one of the greatest life lessons for me.
Dwayne's story today isn't polished. It's welded together, because you see, he lived for 18 years with a misdiagnosed disease. He survived a police shooting. He nearly gave up everything. But then something happened. A little boy, a plate of food, a moment that changed everything. Today, he's showing up. So, my friends, sit back, kick back, and let's get started. And this is the School of Influence. Hey, welcome everybody. I'm your host, Devin Schubert, also known as the Man in Orange, and I'm excited to bring to you this session of the School of Influence. Today's guest is a living reminder that scars don't disqualify you, they certify you. Our speaker today is a powerful, inspirational speaker and former international basketball player, but his real story starts after the court, which is rare. He battled a rare blood disease for 18 years before doctors ever caught it. He survived a police shooting that could have taken everything. And instead of hiding the struggle, he's using it to fuel, to hope, to help high achievers master their mindset, unlock their potential, and live fully present lives. Dwayne doesn't just talk about motivation, he is the message that we all need today. And I'm excited to bring him on as he pulls back the curtain of what real influence looks like. So welcome to the School of Influence, my friend, Dwayne Morton. Hey, buddy. Welcome to see ya.
What's up, man? It's always good to see you, buddy. So I just want to say thank you to the listeners. I think it's so important to just let them know. I believe time is the most valuable commodity. So anytime people give me their time, I just say that with the utmost gratitude. So I just want to always thank the listeners, and then of course, Devin, man, we've known each other for a little bit over a year, and I appreciate the friendship, but I appreciate you bringing me onto your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain people that when you meet them, you just kind of click. Like you just know that there's something there. And I know that at the very beginning, we kind of had that, and we've stayed in touch. We're not like talking every single day, every single week. But this is one of the things about influence, is that when you make a good connection with somebody, you just know that they're there, they got your back, they're there to support you. When you have a rough day, you can always reach out. And it's not like you have to catch up on everything. It's like, hey man, I'm here for you. Like, let me listen, let me be there by your side. And it's just like you never missed a beat. And so I appreciate that about you. And who you are as a person. So thank you for being here. Well, pardon the interruption, but let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your story was meant to impact thousands or millions of lives, but you literally just didn't know where to start? Did you know that there's over 2.9 billion people watching social media every single day? That's literally the biggest stage in the entire world. And yet most people are completely invisible on it. Why? Because they don't know how to tell their story in a way that actually connects to other people. And that, my friends, is exactly why I created Stories to Stages. We help you craft your entire story, professionally edit your video, and then we publish it across all major platforms. Plus, I'm going to give you access to my entire storytelling bootcamp. This is over $25,000 worth of value, but right now you can get the entire thing for just $7. $7. Because this isn't just a course, this is a launching pad. We've helped people with no audience, no experience, finally share their story with confidence and to get real reach. Because your story told in the right way involves and moves people. So go to stories2stages.com and grab your $7 spot with the code of podcast1. Your story was not meant to stay silent. So let's get seen, let's get heard, let's get paid, and let's set people free. So go to stories2stages.com, grab your $7 spot, and use the code podcast1 and get yours today. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, when you asked me, it was a no-brainer, and it was like, hey, if I can move something, cool. If it doesn't, it's just one of those things. And so, for me, just being on a school of influence is amazing, but like just the journey of this has only been a year for me actually being healthy and me being able to actually be able to share that experience, that true 180. And so for the listeners, you gave me perfect points, things like that. But my story, I feel like it begins as a 4-year-old boy shooting basketball, because that's where I feel like it taught me the resilience. So when I was 4, the height of the basketball goal was 10 foot, and the net was red, white, and blue, and I was shooting with a red, white, blue ball. So just to kind of give people my age. But what I would do is I'd go out there and I would set goals of like hitting the different colors of the net. And then eventually like it would hit the rim and then it would go in. And then it's like, that's where I fell in love with the game. But that's truly where the resilience was built. Same thing with basketball. I wasn't a star. I was good. And then I was like, hey, you're a bench warmer. Like, good, you're a bench warmer. And so that's really where I was with basketball. And then that's actually where the spiritual journey actually happened also. Is my grandmother passed away. I quit basketball. That's where the spiritual journey started. And then that's how the path just kind of opened up, like how I was able to go play overseas. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, so me playing overseas, I met this 5-year-old boy. The 5-year-old boy hadn't eaten in 3 days. And for me, that's really where I learned my foundation of gratitude. And that foundation of gratitude pushed me through my challenges, because I had never had someone give me that perspective at that age. I thought everybody had food, water, or shelter, right? But truly what happened was that perspective made me realize that our nightmares are other people's dreams.
Mm.
So I used that to push through the other challenges that happened after the court. And even when I blew out my knee and I had a contract that was sitting on my table that was partially signed by me, but I couldn't get medically cleared. So that's the other thing. So I never played professional basketball. And that gets mixed up sometimes because they think, oh, well, you played international basketball. It was a door to open up to all these great things. So,
So tell us a little bit about what was it like, working so hard at basketball and practice and going through all those things and then not knowing like what the future held. You were going overseas, you had these experiences. Tell us a little bit about that journey, because I want to know. I know the listeners do.
yeah, man. So basketball was always that passion, love thing. I mean, it was a cruel love though. It was like this heartbreaking love. It was like, hey, I'm going to allow you to make the team, but you're not going to start. You're not going to be a star for sure. I mean, it is all these like things, but what it was it was like showed up and I was persistent. I was resilient.
Mm.
And there was times I wanted to quit when I was younger and I was just like, this is not worth it. But that was the thing. That was the resilience factor. And the coaches taught me that resilience. They gave me these challenges. And there's a thing, when how a sword is forged, and you go into the bloom process. That's what basketball taught me. It was that resilience factor, but it also taught me like, if you love something, you have to really work at it. And so whether you apply that to marriage, whether you apply that to a career, like I feel like that was one of the greatest life lessons for me.
Yeah.
And so I was able to apply it. And so just to kind of give it a little bit of a perspective is I was scared though, Devin. That's the one thing I want to get across with basketball. I was timid. I wasn't. I think I graduated high school at 155. So I mean, I was a string bean, man. And so I think that was the one thing that I want people to understand was I was timid of the limelight. I didn't even know what talent and skills I really had until after. And being going overseas and playing against different type of competition, it was freeing. That's the other thing. It was freeing. It was like, okay, I'm actually pretty good at this. Like I'm actually like beating some of these college players that I play against that are at my local college. Well, hold on a second. Maybe I might actually have a chance. Now, I knew I didn't feel like I had a chance to go to the league. I felt like my path was, hey, let's play a few seasons overseas and then let's go get into a business opportunity or something like that. I mean, for me, it was just never the league. It was never NBA. I mean, maybe that was the dream was always to play past high school.
Mhm. And that's I mean, that's a great dream. And so as you knew that you were people were telling you that you're just a backup and that they were just putting that, but you kept on persevering through that. As people are wanting to, grow their businesses, as people are wanting to get onto stages and, we always have these negative Nancy's. We have these Karens that, are always barking at us and always telling us that we'll never make it. And for some people, it's their moms. Some people, it's, their close friends. How did you talked about your coaches and helping you form that. How did you internally kind of just be like, okay, like it's another day. I got to keep on pressing forward. I can't give up yet today.
Yeah. So I was extremely fortunate. For I had a coach for 3, 4 years that was a cousin of mine, and he pushed me. He pushed everybody. I mean, we ran and we ran and we ran. He was a cross country coach. And so it's just different, man, when you respect somebody and you're wanting them to respect you. And you even knew that like they respected you, but they also like the biggest thing was like he was challenging you for a purpose. He saw something more in you. Just to kind of give an idea, I had a pretty good shot when I was in middle school, and he was like, "I don't want you to practice with us until you get your shot like totally reconstructed." And this is me. I'm on a bench, man. I'm also like, I'm one of the taller players too throughout this whole process. So I'm thinking, why am I working on my shot? But when I reworked my shot, that thing started falling in even more. And that's when I was like, oh, I have something different, but I'm playing in the paint. And then I quit growing and then I had to learn a whole brand new position. And so that's actually what kind of helped me, Devin, was instead of playing and getting banged on all the time, I then was able to go outside and get on the perimeter and actually kind of do my thing. And like I said, I weighed nothing. So
Uh,
I feel like that was the other part of resilience was it was like, oh, now I'm starting to get confident. Now I'm starting to be able to kind of add on to these skills and these talents. And dude, I could jump out of the gym. I mean, and so that was another thing that a lot of people didn't have at that time was I was able to jump out of the gym. And so um, I kind of put all those things together and then that beautiful package kind of just hit right at the right time when I went overseas.
yeah. That's so good. And so somebody found in you, and challenged you to step up in another way of, transitioning your shot, making sure your shot is honed in, and you followed that. You trusted that person, and that person had influence over to you because you had relationship, right? You had relationship to trust what they were saying, even though you're like, why? Like, why would I do that? And it worked out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was I actually changed schools. That was another thing. And so I didn't have that coach. I had someone else. But then I went to a shooting camp where a guy who actually won the SB award for like Don Meyer, great coach, great winning coach. He saw something in me. He said this, and it was had such a profound effect. He said, "Whether you can or you can't, I'm sorry, whether you believe you can or you can't, You're correct. And which, it's a Henry Ford quote, but I didn't know that at the time. I thought this guy just, like, put some wisdom, and I was like, "Boom, exactly," because I had that respect for him, and it was the first conversation we had. But, you know, I was, like I said, a bench player. He asked me for tape, and I was like, "I don't have tape." I, like, set the bench, and he was like, "Dude," he's like, "You can play." He's like, "You can shoot." And this is at a shooting camp with, like, 300 people. And so that's where the confidence started. And again, it's like I tell people all the time, it's that snowball effect when you're on top of the hill. You can push and push and push, but then eventually when it goes, it's like that momentum. And so that's really what it was that was the first push where it was like, oh, this confidence started kind of growing.
Mm. Do you feel like it was because you had him, another person that believed in you, that was like, "Hey, you got this." Like, you can either sit on the bench and create your tape there of just sitting there, or, like, let's get you out there and show people what you can do.
So yeah, what I would say, Devin, is it was the push off the mountain, and then I quit because my grandmother passed away, and I didn't know how to deal with death. Like,
Oh.
so I was like, okay, well, this basketball thing, like, even though this coach, college coach, like, I'm not gonna play. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking at that time. But I was like, the beautiful thing about when you quit something is, and I'm not a proponent of quitting, but what it had for me was it was freeing because I fell back in love with basketball,
Mm,
and the struggle was it was not fun, and so it reminded me, hey, but then I just got so much better because I was free. I was like, I was trying new moves. I was trying different things. Like where if I would have stayed in organized basketball, I probably wouldn't have found. And then the next year I tried out. He cut me. I was injured a lot during the during the tryouts, so I kind of understand. But when he cut me, I was like, "You made a mistake."
mm.
I was like, I deserve to be on this team, and if this is motivation, inspiration, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna play past high school, and I did.
Yeah. I love it. It parallels somebody else that, not exactly in the order, but I mean, you're kind of wearing their shirt in the background of, somebody else who didn't make a team and somebody else who quit when I think it was his dad that died, right? Or his mom, his dad that died. And, he quit. You didn't go play baseball, did you?
No, I mean, honestly, I look back, I wish I would have stayed with baseball, but that's the thing, man, is like, you just never know, and those parallel stories of, like, with MJ and stuff like that, like, for me, there was a guy who played basketball here who played in the ABA, and he started seeing me, and he was like, "Dude, you can play." He's like, "But, like, you gotta work on your confidence. You gotta work," and I'm like, "How do I get confidence?" So, really, the other step of this, Devin, and I talk about it because of mental performance. I started using visualization, but
Mm,
I didn't understand what I was doing. When I learned how to type, I would close my eyes and I'd visualize this, like, I'd see the words on TV. I was a really good typer. And so one day I was icing my knee. I don't remember what did to my knee, but I was just like, hey, I'm just going to visualize my workout. And I did. And then I went out and put my workout and it felt better. And I just kept doing it. And so I taught myself visualization. And so even in the book, I talk about things that I relied on, but I didn't really know the science of. And I think that's really beautiful when you're able to just learn things in the fire and not be taught off of a book or a class. I think that's the most important thing.
yeah. Yeah. I think it is important to, for all of our listeners, myself included, is to recognize how we learn the best. I think you and I have kind of talked about this before as well. Um, is that some people learn really well by reading and capturing things that way. Some people learn by watching a video or watching a podcast or YouTube. For me, it's kind of similar to like what you were just saying. I need to catch it. Like, show me what to do once, and I can immediately be able to implement it and be able to do. And I think that's key in our influence is that if we don't recognize how we learn, then we're not able to capture things to be able to release it to other people. And so for you, it was that confidence. You needed to be around those people, but you also learned that I need to be able to visualize these things. I need to be able to capture it and implement it right away. And it took you to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me to the next level, but it also took me to the next level of even I deserve things.
Mm,
Like I deserve things. And I think us as Christians, sometimes we feel like we say that, but we don't really we don't it doesn't we don't apply it. And so for me, I went on that mission trip. The mission trip opened up with the agent was working on some things. I was like, "Hey, I need to get bigger." I think I was 170 at the time I was playing over there, and I was like, "Hey, I need to put on like at least 10 to 15 more pounds, and then go look for, a contract and just play a few years, and then, hey, let's move on." And so when I hurt my knee and I didn't get the money, I was like, well, a lot of other people who would just be like, "Well, I'm a basketball player. I'm a basketball player." And I'm like, "I think I hit my ceiling, man. I think I'm done. Like, I think basketball is done for me." But I knew there was more out to life.
Yeah.
And so that I think that was the most important part. But it's funny how these full circle moments happen. But I was told at 20 I would be a great speaker. I mean, even at 19, like I spoke in front of some pretty large crowds, and they were just like, "Dude, you're a really good speaker." And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm a basketball player," or like I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what I wanted at that time. I think it was more sports psychology is what I was thinking.
Yeah. Do you feel like your identity was wrapped up in that basketball, and so there's, like, no other options? I didn't have a plan B. My identity was, I'm a basketball player, and that's it. Or do you feel like you had a more open mindset?
I had a more open mindset, but I think it was because I was never the star.
Sure.
I didn't have to work through, "Hey, I'm a star, I'm gonna go to NBA." Like, that was not the case. But I was surrounded by some really good talent where we're at. Like, one of the players that, I played with and, what would have been playing against, like, he was the SEC player of the year. Like, that's a Power 5 conference. I mean, he was a lottery pick. Like, this dude is not a joke. And so, I I see things about me being a basketball star, and I'm like, I mean, I just was a basketball player. But to other people, hey, if you want to put me in that star category, cool. But like, when we get around with basketball heads, no, I wasn't the star. This guy was, and he has the accolades, the trophies, and the credentials, so he deserves that. And so, um, for me, as soon as I felt like I was risking something, so when I had the knee surgery, she was like, "Hey," she's like, "You can keep playing. We can do another surgery and get your knee better, but you're probably going to have knee replacement in your mid 30s." And I was like, "No." I'm like, "Forget that. Like, I can move on and do something else."
And how old were you when you had the knee injury and then the surgery?
Like, right, I think I just turned 20.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Pretty
was
pivotal
early, but
moment.
very pivotal, but I just knew, hey, like, I don't want to trade this off. And which is kind of funny because when I got diagnosed, I thought, "Oh, I accomplished my dream," and there was a trade off. Like, that's why my life is getting shortened. And
Mm,
so that again, this is another full circle moment.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. So tell us about the diagnosis.
Yeah. So after the day before, I had ran 2 miles a day. I mean, I pretty much had run 3 miles a day. I ran 2 miles. I played basketball that night. I woke up. My knees were like kind of hurting, and I was going to work, and then I couldn't get up 3 flights of stairs, and I was like, "Something is wrong." I couldn't catch my breath, and so I finally got up to the office, called the doctor, and that's when we started doing tests because I was like, "Something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong." And, I went to an oncologist, and the oncologist said, he was like, "You have this," and he's like, he said, "You have a rare blood cancer or rare blood disease." I don't remember which one he said. But whatever he said, I was like, "Okay, this is different." And I took it to another level of like, "Hey, I don't need to have a wife. I don't need to have kids. Like, I don't want other people carrying my burden." The next visit, my parents drove up. My brother, who was my roommate, he needed to hear it himself. And the doctor told him, I had 5 years. And my brother was like, "I can't believe you tell a 29-year-old you only have 5 years." And so Later it got moved to 15, but I still stayed with that. Hey, life is short. I felt like, hey, God gave me my dream. I could shorten my life, those type of things. Um, the other aspect, man, is I knew that whenever I went to those doctor's offices, I knew other people didn't have it together as much as I did. And I wanted to be a prime example of what a person should be, like their personality. I opened the doors, I held doors, I said please and thank you. Like I was polite where other people were really, really stuck in that victim mentality. And I'm not saying I wasn't either, but I just wanted to be like, hey, I didn't want to lose Dwayne.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. Our stories just are so parallel in a lot of that area of, me giving up everything that I had for my son. And, through that journey, it was like I knew I couldn't lose myself in taking care of him, even though it was literally killing me inside. I never slept. I had 21 cameras in the house and outside the house to keep us safe so he wouldn't run away. He wouldn't hurt me. He wouldn't hurt himself. And, I knew that my body was slowly shutting down. And when I went to the hospital and that time when I woke up in the hospital bed and they're like, yeah, your brain and your nervous system have stopped communicating. You have 3 months left to live. She's like, how, what? Like, how can, how can you even diagnose? How can you even say that? Well, it wasn't like an official diagnosis type of thing. It's just a forecast of like, this is how serious this is, and this is what we're projecting. But at the same time, I was the same way. I was like, I have to show up with the best that I can. And then at that point, I had to kind of like turn it around to myself. Like, okay, like my son is now taken care of. He's now in a treatment. He was getting the help that he needed. Now I needed to, and I didn't know how to take care of myself and be able to formulate all those different mindsets of, it's been about influence, it's been about helping, it's been about showing up. Now it's like, okay, what's the best way that I can show up for me to make this best few months for you, few years to be able to make it worth it?
Yeah. So one of the things for me was there was just certain things like I was depressed. I was like, everything that I did, man, was around athletics or running was the way I got rid of stress. People showed up for me for a little bit and then they kind of just dwindled. Like, especially when you're talking about 18 years, man, there's people who really showed up and then they just got tired of like, I don't know if they just thought I was lazy or whatever. I mean, even getting the diagnosis, what I would say is one of the most difficult things is being able to tell your friends, I'm unable to do something. So every day I felt like I felt like how you would feel if you had the flu, right? No one feels good. And then on top of it, my energy level is probably like a quarter of a tank every day. So man, there was days I skipped taking showers. Like I was a 4 shower a day type person. So I mean, I'm just trying to give you an idea. Like you, there's these things that you just had to be like, okay, I don't have the energy to do this today, but I'll do it tomorrow. And so one of the things that like I'll give the listeners if they go up to show up to win with the number two is this PDF of Dwayne's daily plan of attack. And it's based on these four principles: gratitude, self care, movement, and adaptability. And every day, Devin, I applied those four principles every day. But the most important one, in my opinion, after gratitude, because I think that is where everything changes for, especially if you're a spiritual person. So let's say the second most important is movement. Is just getting up out of bed. And so every time I did something, whether it was just going to the fridge to get an OJ, I would pat myself on the back. And those celebrations, those consistency, that I feel was the most important part of me being able to just take it all in and be able to say, okay, I don't feel good, but I'm going to do this. Okay, I can lay here for the rest of the day and that's fine. But But there's all these, like, things looking back, man, where I met some of these most wonderful people, and I formed these wonderful relationships, and I was like, "Okay, God, why am I why is my mentor, like, Melvin Turner Sr., why is he this guy was mentored by Jim Rohn, and, to this day, the greatest motivational speaker in my opinion. And Melvin just so happened to mentor Jim Rohn in public speaking. So, I knew I was in rarefied air, and, they always tell you, you're be in proximity of people that you really want that inspire you, right? And I was, and he took such a huge liking to me and poured into me all the time. And so even the days where I didn't feel like showing up, he showed me, "Hey, your he's really big attitude person." And he was like, "Your attitude is your altitude." And I was just like leaning on to those things that he gave me. But I was like, "God, why you do this? Like, why is this like a why are we why am I like in this circle of people and I'm not able to do anything with it?" And so now looking back, all of that wisdom that was poured into me, I'm able to apply it now that I'm healthy.
Mm. Yeah.
So another one of those full circle moments that it's like looking back. And so he would call me every week, at least a week, and he would always call me young man. He was like, "Young man." He's like, how are you doing today?" He's like, "Where's your attitude?" And then I'd be like, "Man, like I'm doing like," and then the problem is like when you start doing things, like, when the cancer diagnosis, like, it's like a prison sentence. It really truly is. But at the first, you're fired up and you're like, "I'm gonna beat it or I'm gonna feed it." But after a while, you have to be content.
Mm.
Because if I would have had that energy for 18 years, I probably would have burned out. And so at some point, I had to be content. And so I would just say, "Hey, man, like, I'm trying to get disability. I'm trying to do these things." And he was like, "Man," he goes, "I don't know." He's like, "But something tells me that this is a preparation stage.
Mhm.
This is preparing you for something bigger." And I'm like, "Okay, I believe you, but I don't believe you." At the back of my mind, I'm like, and so, when all that kind of came back around, even after, so he passed away in February. So he doesn't even get to see this part of it that he poured in and molded. That's the crazy part of it. Um, and so, um, you know, move on to the police shooting. It was past the 15-year diagnosis. So I was like, why are we having this miracle? And like, we can go into that, but it was just those type of things, these steps. And so he was just like, he always just was like, "I believe in you, man." He's like, "Young man," he's like, "I believe that this thing's going to turn around for you." He's like, "I don't know how it's going to, but it will."
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. I love how you talked about, showing up to win, like how important it is. And I know that's, what your branding is and how you're reaching people, but just this teaching point of show up to win, like just being somewhere isn't enough. You have to show up in your presence, in your purpose and in integrity, like you were talking about, opening the doors and saying please and thank you. Those little things matter in the influence that you have because you never know the influence that might have on the person that you're opening the door for. And so you don't even know how that person might be feeling that you open the door for, or, whether or not they're hurting, or, how those little things. And I love how you brought up gratitude because it's important that we operate out of that mindset and talk about this all the time about, you know, a lot of times we have like a 5-minute bad moment of our 23 and a half, 20, whatever, 24-hour day. And so there's 5 minutes of a negative moment, but we tend to hold on to that negativity of those 5 minutes and let it destroy our entire day. And so instead of chasing after that negativity and going down that downward spiral, you had the diagnosis, you had the negativity, but you had this person that was pouring into you. And that's clearly what influence is all about. And even though, he passed in February, the point is that I see with you is that you are passing on and you are living out the legacy that he saw for you. He came alongside of you and dreamed and visioned and casted vision with you and said, "Son, this is what I see in you. Now go and do it." And now you get to be able to do that and be able to do that for other people. And that's what I love about, your show up to win.
Yeah, I mean, so show up to win is it's not just about winning, it's not about winning championships. It is showing up and I like there's so many people that just say, "Hey, show up." Like show up in attendance. But man, like I could show up in attendance to a lot of things and I'm not going to get anything from it. And so what I believe show up to win is showing up with intention and presence. It's showing up with like, "Hey, I'm here for a purpose." And that is what show up to win is. Um, it's not about winning championships. It's not that part. I mean, that part's great. Don't get me wrong. That's a great part of visualization is to, visualize that. But for you to put it in that perspective with Melvin, that allows me to know that that legacy lives on. And it also allows me to know that I have that responsibility. And here's the thing is with great power comes great responsibility from like the Spider-Man movie, but it's true. You know, I talk about being Superman all the time, but like I don't tell what phase of Superman I'm in. Like I'm still in the learning to fly phase. There's times I crash really hard, and there's times that like I soar really, really high, and I'm like, I don't know how I just did this, but like I kind of like this. I'm kind of curious how this like keeps going. And so that's the thing, man. I've come to this with the curiosity of like a 5 to 8 year old. Like everything I do, I use it like it's a video game. I'm pushing my limit every day, and I'm keeping it fun. That's the other
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and, and I think that's probably the most important thing. But like I have people already that I'm already looking at like mentoring. I've already been mentoring people for a long time because I realized that like I had a lot of wisdom that a lot of other people didn't have, the business wisdom. For my athletic part, I've got 2 kids that right now, they're D1 players. I mean, one of them's probably a top 200 player, Gatorade player of the year. I mean, not yeah, player of the year, but Gatorade player for, like, in the nations. Like, there's a chance that he goes to the league, man. I mean, there's real opportunity for some of this, but the thing is, like, I was able to equip him with things that most high school kids don't have.
For sure. For sure. And it's because of the things that were passed on to you and then your experience and persevering through that all and, showing up, continually showing up. And now you get to show up for somebody else and teach them those same types of things. I want to go back a little bit to the story because I know there's a little bit of part that we haven't gotten to yet. So tell us how this kind of continued to unfold as far as, you have the diagnosis and, you talked a little bit about a police shooting. So leave us on the cliffhanger. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, man. So that was I woke up and it was gonna be a really great day because I had a doctor's appointment, and for some reason, my A1C, so if, there was a chance that I was a type 2 diabetic, I reversed it, lost some weight, and my little niece, who was 3 at the time, she had been asking to go get ice cream, and so the most important part of this story is your intuition. Follow your intuition. Follow your discernment. I'm getting ready to leave. The vehicle that I have is it's a black SUV, like a Buick Rendezvous, and so the tire pressure had been kind of messed up for the last like 2 to 3 weeks, and I really hadn't been driving it, so I wasn't really sure. Hey, I didn't want to be stranded with my little niece um, when we went and got ice cream. So I grabbed my keys at first, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna take my dad's truck, who had like a Chevrolet, Avalanche, and so I grabbed the keys of the truck. My dad says, "Hey, can you go make a deposit at the bank?" I'm like, "Sure." So, Devin, sometimes we just have choices, and sometimes those decisions are good or bad, and we don't know what the consequences of either one. And so could go left and go to the bank, or I could go right to get the ice cream. I chose to go left to the bank part, and unfortunately, after the bank part, I drove into a police shooting. Um, a criminal was detained, took a hidden gun, shot and murdered a police officer. So I'm a small part of this story, but it's a large part of my story. Police officer gets killed. Him and another the criminal and the other officer like get in a shootout. I'm driving by at this time. A stray bullet hits the truck. If the bullet's an eighth of an inch to the left, it kills me. The bullet's an eighth of an inch to the right, it hits my little niece who's 3 at the time. So the big part about this was I didn't even realize how close the bullet was until I parked. I got out of the truck. I was looking down because I'm thinking, hey, it probably hit the bed of the truck. I walked the bed. I'm like, oh man, it's probably went under undercarriage. I get down on my hands and knees and like looking under the truck. And then I see where the bullet hole actually is. And it's head high, the right aimed at my head. And so I was like, oh. And so I talk about it in my book. I was like, hey, I have my little niece. I cannot freak out. So control your breath. And so that's what I did. I called my dad. He comes in, and that was just a different journey, man. Dealing with PTSD and survivor's guilt. There was an officer who got murdered. There's all of my friends were friends of him. So I knew of him, but I didn't know him that well. And so my story again was a small part. But sometimes, man, that was really the spot where it's like the kickoff of like, hey, I was supposed to be dead last year. Like 15 years was supposed to be up here. Somehow, God, why did you give me a miracle? I mean, you were there when that day when I met you, and I was like, God spared me that day. Like that was my feelings. I was in that victim mentality. And then afterwards, after I got put in perspective, that's where the spiritual journey like really kicked up. But it allowed me to start thinking about all of these things, and it gave me a different challenge. And then March 8th of 2024, I wrote into the oncologist and they said, hey, you're misdiagnosed. And I was like, my first words, Devin, were, are you sure? Like, I got a miracle and I'm like, are you sure? Like, what kind of person would be like, but that's how we are. We're always in doubt, right? And so that's really the kickoff, though, was that police shooting to give me a chance to be calm, still, but really not calm and still. I was in the storm, but I was able to like control what I could control. And I was just like, God, please take this away. And then I feel like I got rewarded. Hey, here's your health back. And then when I got my health back, man, it was like that little wind up toy. If you ever winded up a toy and you just held it after you could feel the energy in it. And so that energy was let go. And so that's where Show Up to Win really was born.
Ah, wow. Man, that's incredible. And the fact that, you could kinda you did your best to hold it all together in that moment, what that could all look like, while you were there. And then, of course, we're gonna doubt, did this really happen? Did they really misdiagnose me? Or am I like, whatever the outcome is, it doesn't matter. Like, you're healed, like, it's not there. And, you're recognizing, all these different things. And again, I think it comes back to that mindset of, okay, I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to step up. You kept yourself at the center. You continually knew yourself enough to be able to say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is this moment. Let's continue to take one step forward. And I think that's so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think also, I believe, I really, every night in that 18 years, I was like, God, if I was just healthy, man,
Mm.
what could I be? Like, what could I truly be? And then it was just like that prayer was sometimes you can't. Here's another thing that Jim Rohn talks about. You can't receive without asking. And I was asking every night, and he decided to grant me that. And whether he healed me, it doesn't matter. I ended up having severe sleep apnea. The things that they have, it's parallel in some ways, but after I got on that CPAP, Devin, the second day, man, I felt like a brand new man. And I was like, okay, I'm healthy.
Mhm.
Now what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to show up? Now, I didn't just show up into Mr. Show Up to Win the second day. I just was like, hey, every day I'm going to do something to make myself better. And then through the healing journey, I didn't just put 10 or 15 minutes into personal development. I put anywhere between 2 and 8 hours of personal development a day, non-negotiable.
Mhm.
So I wanted it. I was willing to do the things that I tell people. I tell people all the time. I was willing to do the things that other people are unwilling to do.
Yeah.
Pretty much in 2024, I locked in and I said, I want this. I'm going to do this, and I need to heal, but I also need to develop.
Mhm.
And that's how it ran its course.
Yeah. I love that, you're saying of live every day like it's your last, it's so important because a lot of aspiring leaders, aspiring influencers, aspiring speakers, all of them, they we come to a point to where it's, am I gonna put in the work or not? Now, I work with a lot of coaches and a lot of business people, and they treat this business, they treat their speaking, they treat their stage presence, their practice like it's a side job. It's like, no, like you gotta put the effort in order to do it. And so I love that, like, living every day, like put forth the effort. The effort that you put in is what you're going to receive. I know you said something similar to that before, but we take for granted we may have a next week, I'll push it off to next week. What if you don't? What if you don't? And that's one thing I love about, us doing this stories to stages thing that I help people, have a million stories shared across media, is that every story that we have is a seed to plant in somebody else. Your story is important, and your story is that seed that gets to be planted of transformation. And the worst thing you can do is take it to the grave with you. What a waste of a life to have a legacy in your story. Everything just go to the grave with you and people just forget. And so, you sharing about these things about, how much your legacy you get to leave by just getting up every day, by seeing what's in front of you, by serving, by showing up with giving everything that you've got is so important. And so thank you for sharing those things. What other things, we got a few more minutes here. Is there any other things that you'd like to kind of wrap this up before we dive into how people can get into touch with you?
Yeah, the the thing about about time is you can compress it. It's like an accordion. So you can compress it or you could uh expand it. For a long time I expanded it. Or you can push yourself and you can compress it. I feel like the most important thing that people need to take from this is begin. Begin is the most important part. And then, I believe the next part is either plan or get a mentor. And either one of those, I prefer getting a mentor before you create the plan, because guess what? The mentor knows how to plan. So, and they know how to make an exact plan to get you the results you're looking for. And so effort is one thing, but effort to climb a wall without a ladder is pretty much nonsense. Like, you wouldn't just say, "Hey, I'm gonna try to climb this 20-foot wall," and just keep clawing at it. And I feel like that's what happens with people is you got to be intelligent. And so that's the thing is, anytime that I have a challenge, I'm like, okay, like what is the best way? How to get around this obstacle? And so I think if they take nothing else away from this interview, I hope they take that as like, come up with an intelligent plan for whatever obstacle they're facing.
Hmm. Yeah. Being, Habakkuk tells us in Habakkuk 2:2 about having a vision, having a plan, and writing it down, how important that is for us to be able to do it. And yeah, having people around you, having a community around you, having a person there that believes in you and can kind of push you is so important as well. And so, how can people follow you? How can people find you on social media or any of those places?
Yeah. So I'm also have a podcast called Show Up to Win, but you can go to showuptowin.com with the number two, and that will actually put you into where you can put your name into the wait list, and that's where you can get the PDF of Dwayne's daily plan of attack. Um, I'm have different show different social media handles of Show Up to Win, so you can find me there, or DW Morton 24. And then I released a book on May 16th called The Bounce Back Blueprint: Become Bulletproof, and I released it on the date of the third anniversary of the shooting. So like we talk about mindset, but like I took a negative day and turned it into a positive day for the rest of my life. And so that's the type of mindset stuff that I'm doing. But you know, I really feel, Devin, this community that I'm doing is going to be where I'm going to really give back. And I don't want it to be priced to the point where the common person is going to have to mortgage your house to work with me. I want it to be where it's actually where it's it's convenient, it's affordable, but they know, hey, they get to talk to me, not my aide, not, someone else, not a student. They actually get to talk to me. And I think that's just super important because, and then also like, I think, I'm finally ready to be that poster child that like a lot of people have told me I am. I had to work to get there. That's the other thing. I felt like, hey, I didn't want all this notoriety, but now I realized that I would be a fool not to take the notoriety and do something with it. And so I think that's really important. But that's where they can find me. That's what they can see what I'm doing. The book's amazing. It is a blueprint for how you can train yourself to be more resilient. And it shows you the parts of my life when I did it. And so it's a beautiful thing where you're able to give back.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the legacy piece.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And so, so many of you guys have talked about mindset and have asked questions about mindset and what is it like, so I strongly recommend, pick up his book, finish the rest of his story of the pieces that, he wasn't able to share, and find these tidbits of pieces of the puzzle of what it looks like for our mindset to be in the healthiest place for your influence to leave a legacy. And so we'll have all those links in the description below. And so just remember that today Dwayne reminded us about our influence. It's not built when you become big, but it's really built about how you handle the hard stuff that comes in your life. How you show up is so important. You don't have to have a platform in order to start. You just have to show up. You get to speak from the scars. You get to speak from the internal struggles that you may have had, even when you're tempted to hide. And this is what School of Influence is all about. It's all about our identity. It's all about our obedience. It's all about leaving a legacy. And Dwayne, thank you for bringing all three of those today. And for everybody watching, for today, school is dismissed, but your influence never takes a day off. So stay bold, stay focused, and go and leave your legacy. Thanks, guys. Bye.